What's up, guys? I'm LQ. This is the LQ Review. Thank you so much for joining me here at my YouTube channel. This is where we talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that we love to talk about. Movies, video games, comic books, and TV shows. And right now, let's talk about Wandavision, Episode 1 and Episode 2. So, it's been a year and a half since we've had anything from the MCU. The last thing we had was Spider-Man Far From Home. Now, those who know me and those who've been watching my channel for a while, you know I'm a huge fan of the MCU. I'm also a huge fan of the DCU. I'm a huge fan of comic book movies. So, I think that the MCU is phenomenal. And I've loved most of what they've done. Not everything. I think Thor 2 is a legitimately bad movie. I think it's just a bad movie. So I haven't loved everything, but I've loved almost everything. And when this came out, I was excited. I was really excited when I heard about what they were doing. When I saw the trailers, I got excited about this show because it looked like the MCU was going to do something different. You know, Kevin Feige was going to go outside of his box because let's face it, the MCU movies tend to have a bit of a formula that they work with, and Kevin Feige was going to go outside of that formula and try something that was drastically different. So that made me really excited because I like it when filmmakers get experimental. I like it when a franchise gets experimental, when they start thinking outside of the box and doing different things. When they do that, when they try different things, sometimes it's not going to work. Sometimes it's going to work great, sometimes it's not going to work, and sometimes it's going to be a little divisive. You know, half the people are going to love it and half the people aren't going to like it so much. And Wandavision did something very different and very experimental with its first 2 episodes. You know, with the trailers made it clear that they're going to lean into this idea that they are in sitcoms. You know, sitcoms from the 50s, 60s, 70s, each decade of sitcoms, they're going to explore those and have Wanda and the Vision live out these sitcoms. But it also became clear in the trailers that there was also going to be a mystery, and that we were going to see Vision in action. We were going to eventually see Wanda in action. Eventually, they were going to break out of this whole sitcom thing that they're doing. We know that's going to happen because we've seen scenes of it in the trailer. But in these first 2 episodes, they have not broken out of that sitcom motif. They haven't. They have leaned extremely heavily into it. The first episode was... what was the first episode? Was it I Love Lucy? Was it the Andy Griffith Show? I don't exactly know which one it was, but the whole episode from beginning to end was them in a sitcom. And it had all the sitcom stuff that comes with it. You know, there was a situational comedy where they have to figure out what the heart on the calendar means, and each one of them kind of, as the day progresses, they each one have kind of a different idea on what that heart means. And when Vision finds out what it means, and he thinks Wanda has figured out what it means, it leads to more situational comedy on the back half of the episode. So again, very much in the vein of those old shows. That's what we got in that first episode. And the comedy was very similar. The special effects, I don't know if they actually repeated the special effects, if they actually did the special effects in the same way they did back then, or if they just used like CGI to make it look like they were doing special effects that way. But it definitely looked like special effects done in that era. And even the way that they talked, the way that they kind of presented themselves, it was all done very much in the vein of that era, with little hints thrown in on what's happening. You know, they had that little commercial within the show of the toaster, and they had the light beeping. And what did it say? Your future starts now. Or forget the past, your future starts now, or something to that effect. And I was like, that means something. That means something. And then we also had the boss, the Hearts, over for dinner. And when he starts choking, it becomes very clear that something is wrong here, because the wife, she's not getting scared, she's not getting panicked, she's like, oh, stop it, oh, stop it, just repeating like a broken record, oh, stop it. And finally, man, I have a hard time deciding what is happening here, because Wanda she breaks character. She's clearly in character by choice. She's in character because she breaks character and she says, "Vision, help him." And Vision gets up and he helps the guy who's choking. And then things kind of go back to normal and she goes back to her character. And that was kind of the first hint that she knows a little bit about what's going on. And then at the credits, we back out and we see Sword. Sword, we saw the symbol for Sword. It's an organization in the MCU, or in Marvel Comics. And we find out that Sword is definitely paying attention to what's going on. And then we go into episode 2. Episode 2 was definitely Bewitched. I know it was Bewitched because I watched Bewitched growing up. It was, I grew up in an era when you couldn't just stream what you wanted to watch. You watched what was on TV. And lots of times what was on TV was old sitcoms. So I watched Bewitched a lot growing up. And everything that happened in this movie in this episode, it was all very Bewitched-like. And I gotta tell you, the second episode really was very charming. The magic act, all of that was very charming, and I just had a great time with it. It was much better than the first episode. Like I said, it was hilarious. That magic act was hilarious. Vision getting the gum inside of him and kind of working up his gears, and he was acting like he was drunk. It was just really, really funny, very charming, and just a lot of fun to watch. Especially how quick Wanda was able to think on her feet and use real magic to make the fake magic look like an illusion. Or use real magic to make the real magic look like an illusion, to look fake. Definitely really good and really funny. I really think Elizabeth Olsen has done a great job selling the character in these first 2 episodes. We learned a little bit more about what was going on. There's a scene where she was talking to the community organizer and there's a radio playing, and then we got the voice in the radio. Wanda, can you hear me? Wanda, who's doing this to you? Who's doing this to you, Wanda? And at that point, it became clear that maybe she knows what's happening. I think she knows what's happening. But maybe there is somebody else involved, too. Maybe this isn't Wanda just going off the deep end after Avengers Endgame. Maybe there's someone else involved who's also kind of pulling the strings. I think that was Randall Park's voice, the agent from Ant-Man, because we know he's going to be in this because we've seen him in the trailers. I think that was his voice. And I'm just curious to find out more about what's going on outside of this town. We get to near the end, and we find out that Wanda's pregnant, and they hear a noise. They step outside, and we see the man in the hazmat suit crawl out of the sewer with all the bees around him. And again, another hint that Wanda is in control here. She breaks character, and she says, no. And then they rewind. They literally rewind back to the scene in the house where they realize that they're pregnant, and the episode ends before they can get back outside and see that guy crawl out of the sewer. Now, I've heard some whispering online, and I think there's a lot of validity to this from what I know about it. Again, I've always been more of a DC guy, but I have read a lot of Marvel comics in my day. And I think there's a lot of validity to the fact that this might be AIM. Now, if you remember, AIM was featured in Iron Man 3. It was the organization that Killian was in charge of. And it looks like this is going to be the return of AIM, because in the comics, AIM wears those hazmat suits. There's bees that are involved in AIM, and I really think that's what we're getting here is AIM being reintroduced into the MCU. I don't know if we're going to see a reemergence of Killian or not, but it definitely looks like this is going to be the reemergence of AIM, AIM. But the second episode was phenomenal. The first episode was there wasn't enough teasing. There wasn't enough teasing about what was going on. The white light on the toaster, forget the past, your future is now. There's some small little teases, but not enough to really get me excited about what's happening next. The second episode really got me excited about what's going to happen next. I wouldn't want 9 episodes of this, but I don't think we're going to get 9 episodes of this sitcom style. I think eventually they're going to transition to a little bit more of a standard MCU type storyline. Might not be action packed, might not be people duking it out, might not be Vision and Wanda fighting a bunch of robots or monsters or anything like that. But I do think that they're going to transition at some point. They're going to break out of this storytelling motif where they're telling everything within the context of a sitcom episode, and eventually they're going to break out of that, and there's going to be rising action, climax, and then conclusion. Because this is, as we know, going to feed into Spider-Man 3. So, yeah, I've really liked it so far. It's not going to be for everybody. Not everybody is going to like this. And in fact, I've seen in social media, it has been a little divisive. A lot of people are just jumping. Marvel. The MCU has those people that when they watch it, they're going to defend it no matter what. They're going to be like, this is great. How dare you? Don't watch it then. Just don't watch it. Those people exist, right? Where somebody criticizes it, somebody else is going to come along and a Marvel drone is going to come along and they're, don't watch it. Just leave. Just forget it. You haven't even seen it all yet. And, they're not going to take anybody's criticisms of it lightly. Those people exist. For me, I can see how somebody want to like it because it's not going to be up everybody's alley. Some people don't even know what the references are to the old TV shows. They don't know what Bewitched is or what I Love Lucy is. They just don't know. So it's going to fall on some deaf ears, and they're going to be like, "What is this?" I liked it. I am in the liked it camp. But I can understand how this isn't going to be for everybody. But again, they tried something different. They got experimental. And when you do that, it's not going to be for everybody. So yeah, good so far. It's a good start. I don't want to be in this too long. I don't want to be in this episodic nature where they're telling an episode of old TV for too long. There's 9 episodes. I want to be well into the mystery by episode 4, 5 at the latest. Episode 4, episode 5 at the latest. If they do another sitcom in episode 3 and another one in episode 4, then by episode 5 they better get on with the story. Because at that point it might be losing me too. So, yeah. I'm in it so far though. I'm in it. And I'm going to finish it no matter what because I love the MCU. But yeah, I'm hoping they don't spend too much time doing this. But that's just my thoughts on it. What did you think of WandaVision episode 1 and episode 2? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your take on it. While you're down there commenting, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I put out a lot of content, and I want to make sure that you're up to date with everything that I'm doing. And as always, thank you so much for joining me here at the LQ Review, where we get to talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that we love to talk about. Until next time, we'll see you guys later.